coming-of-age story about a young, radical artist who feels misunderstood in her own time and maybe in certain ways was ahead of her time. And I guess one of my thoughts was, if she wasn't understood or recognized when she was alive, could we understand or recognize her today? She managed to do this incredible work mostly in secret. And I think that's such a foreign concept to us today, when everyone is so sort of obsessed with attention. There's something so riveting about someone who succeeded in making the most powerful art without really ever leaving her bedroom. This show was made in a way that's different from the way traditional TV gets made. You know, it was made in certain ways more like a 5-hour movie with 10 chapters. And I think that, you know, making it for a brand new streaming platform just supported that vision, and we were able to work very holistically and all as one big piece, and I think that's how we approach this project.
Emily Dickinson was so misunderstood in her own time, and so our show asks that question of, can we understand her in ours? And so with that alone, it has a very modern sense of thinking, and I think what people will enjoy, what I hope people will feel when they're watching this show, is that they forget it's a period piece, because it feels so modern in so many ways, and in some sort of heartbreaking ways, in some exciting ways, and I do feel and hope that, much like myself, I hope that a young audience can see this and appreciate her work and her fearlessness. Everybody, really, I do think that this is a coming-of-age story in a sense, and I do feel like those are meant for all ages. I think that there's something in this for everyone, especially a young audience. I hope, like I said before, that they watch this and take away that sort of fearlessness that Emily Dickinson had, and that fight in her.
So Emily was incredibly bookish and very kind of intense and eccentric in a lot of ways, and Lavinia desperately wanted to fit into society. She wanted boyfriends, and she wanted to be friends with the right people, and she wanted dresses, and she was in her own way super eccentric. So I think what drew me to the project was that there were these two sisters that both ended up rejecting the world that they lived in, but in completely different ways. And she was just so funny and delicious to me. So I loved her.
Were you a fan of Emily?
I think I was a fan without knowing that I was a fan, because when I started reading about her, I realized that so many of her poems, Hope is a Thing with Feathers, Wild Nights, were poems that I knew as kind of canon of great poetry, but I didn't put together that it was this woman who had written almost 2,000 of them from her bedroom alone. And it has certainly turned me into a huge Emily Dickinson fan.
Well, I play Austin Dickinson, Emily's older brother. The relationship is nuanced. At once he sees her as someone that he understands, and he understands kind of the poetry behind what she sees, but also he's a little bit threatened by her. He's a smart dude, but he also he doesn't want his sister to be smarter than him. The style of the show is a marriage between the historical facts of Emily Dickinson's life and also the themes, the surrealist sometimes themes in her poetry, where she would personify death, for instance, or have a conversation with a bee. You know, these kinds of things are taken as realism in the show, so it gets a little surreal when Emily is suddenly in a carriage talking to death, played by Wiz Khalifa. But I think that's what really attracted me to the show in the first place, is that it's not strictly a biopic of Emily Dickinson. It's trying to get even more to the core of who she was as a person and make it applicable to right now, because it's constantly in dialogue with our 21st century issues and thoughts and feelings. People think poetry, people hear poetry and they think oh, it's so literary, it's in books. No, poetry is like writing a song. It's her equivalent of making a YouTube video and posting it online. It's just every bit is confessional and every bit is real and true. She's writing them as she's going through life, and so it makes sense. They're gonna love it. They're gonna love watching Emily come up with her poems. Also, Emily just being a boss in the 1850s is a really satisfying sight.
It just deals with themes that really resonate with the youth of today. Even though it takes place in the 1850s, it's something that kids today can really understand. She was misunderstood for her times, and she used the outlet of poetry to kind of spread the word. Using contemporary music, using contemporary the way kids speak today. To sort of make a period show feel very contemporary and very resonant to the times.